The CFL Gambling Podcast Week 6 reaction show and power rankings episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their brand new Pick 8 sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have CFL action. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Build your own betting model using their AI betting engine. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm.
Hey, what's up, you degenerate gamblers? This is Bill Burr, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, baby.
Welcome to the CFL Gambling Podcast Week 6 reaction show and power rankings episode. Don't forget about those power rankings. We are back though and excited to talk about just the road to the 111th Grey Cup, but we just got some breaking news too. We will break in a second here as well. Hopefully you're joining us. Hopefully you're telling us just an okay week for me. Someone had a fire week though. Somebody called the old fire department in Iowa. But we'll talk all about that, folks. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, well, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Woo! Nothing like getting hit by lightning. All right, I feel like my co-host has got hit by lightning a few times out on a zero-turn lawnmower, but he can pay for all those medical costs because he was on fire. YouTube.com. Get on over there, type in CFL Gambling Podcast, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, hop on over to iTunes, give us a 5-star review. Let us know that we're doing okay. I am joined by my co-host. He is the host of the Old Fashioned Football Podcast, as well as the UFL Gambling Podcast. Give it up for Justin Mark, a.k.a. Zero Turn J. Mark. How are you, pal?
Doing good. The zero turn is fixed. I got the new muffler on. I had to modify it a little bit, but it's on there. It's working great. And then I could afford it.
I know they rain the egg cold, but they're counting.
Yes, he's referring to this is 2 straight weeks, is it? Is this 2 straight weeks or 2 out of 3?
2 out of the last 3.
2 out of 3. Yes. Zero Turn J Mark cashing in on his Pam Anderson huge tits parlay again. Just about 9-1. Whew.
Yep.
Folks, this is a free show. You know how many fake tits you can buy with that?
One.
Depending on how much money you put down. But theoretically, you could buy a lot of fake tits if you put down the right amount, you know? But buddy, talk about that ride and talk about what teams, just break it down for everybody and talk about your feelings watching that as your huge tits parlay cashes the second of, a couple weeks ago was kind of,
I know it was 2-1 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was kind of a small tits parlay on the huge tits parlay, but this one is, 100%. This is like Pam Anderson in like 2005, and she's starting to look like fucking 40. So you just got to keep making them bigger. Tell me about your ride there with all that.
Yeah, so I mean, I said on the show the only one that made me nervous was the last leg, the Ottawa Redblacks money line. Didn't know who was going to start at quarterback, but the first leg was the Argos and Alouettes to go over 49.5. That was easy. Calgary and Winnipeg over 47.5. That was easy. They scored over 70 points. So then it was just waiting for that Ottawa one. They were down 15-3 early on, and I thought, well, shit, they're going to blow it. They make their comeback. Then they have a big lead, and I'm like, this is in the bag. Edmonton scores it and or ties it. And yeah, we can talk about during the recap how that game ended, but I got a little bit of luck there, but I'll take it.
Yes. And I mean, 9-1. Are you fucking kidding me? This is a free show, folks. We've given you like it's week 6. So 5 out of 6 weeks. I didn't cash on DFS. Did you?
I got, so in our $15 entry, I got paid $12.50. So technically I lost, but I didn't lose the whole 15 at least.
There you go. Well, I mean, I would have turned in multiple lineups had I not been in Nevada where they don't let you. I had to rely on you out of good faith. By the way, let me know what I owe you. And okay. Well, that works. I'm gonna keep going to Nevada, folks. Huh? But I would have turned in a lineup with Vernon Adams. I didn't. That one might have got cash, but I didn't do it, so I don't know. But let's get into it, folks. But before we do that, I want to tell you the CFL Gambling Podcast Week 6 reaction show. It's part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and the Sports Gambling Podcast is getting you ready for the upcoming college football season with their conference previews. I am Pick Dundee here, featured on all of those ones. So go check that out. Tune in wherever you get your podcasts or the SGPN app, which is free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, back. And look, I normally have slides. This is not my fault. I can't blame this on Vegas. I can't blame this on Mountain West Media Day. I went to build the slides, which I built. And turns out right now, our hosting platform, StreamYard, doing a little maintenance. So I'm going to have to do it the old fashioned way where I just read you the scores. The Toronto Argonauts 37, Montreal 18. I mean, I did cash in on this one, but the only problem is I did not take the money line. Let's talk a little bit about this game because this was an ass whooping, but the reason why our DFS lineups, at least I believe, Cody Fajardo didn't really light it up for us on the DFS front. Now the yardage was actually, I mean, Toronto only outgained them by like 50 yards, I think it was. To put that up though, it's the 2 turnovers I think for Montreal was a big part of it. How about Toronto being able to run the ball the way they did? They had like 183 rushing yards. But talk to me about this game. Cam Dukes, another strong performance, outgunned Caleb Evans, 131 in the air to 127. What the hell was this game?
Strong performance is a little bit of a stretch in my opinion. It kind of looked like watching the offense. It was kind of like watching JV. I really felt like Dinwiddie dumbed the game down because of the mistakes Dukes has been making, which is fine. It won the game, but I don't know if they're going to have sustained success unless he can start improving. He was 16 for 20, only 131 yards, 6.6 average, but the run game was the big difference there.
He ran for like 50 yards though.
He did run for 50 yards. Kadeem Carey had 94 yards, so strong game by him. On our pick show last week, I read the stat that the difference between the winning teams and the losing teams so far through week 5 had not been passing. Turnovers had played just a small part. It was the run game. Winning teams are averaging 20 more rushing yards per game. And that's what Toronto did here. They ran the ball more. They ran the ball better. And knocked Fajardo out with a hamstring injury. I feel like that definitely changed the flow of the game. Caleb Evans is not Cody Fajardo, especially coming in cold like that. I mean, as a professional, you got to be ready, but he looked off. He did not look like he was ready. So, but shout out to Toronto. They got it done. It didn't necessarily look like it was super pretty or that they were this high powered team in the passing game, but they can control the line of scrimmage in the run game. and that might be all they need.
You can try to switch up football all you want, in my opinion. Like, I mean, we do this with UFL. I know you're not on the college football show with me, but it's like Michigan just won a national championship by dominating the line of scrimmage. Georgia was doing that too. The NFL, I think off the top of my head, I'd have to pull this up, but I believe there was, I think 14 teams make the playoffs now. 13 of the 14, I think, were in the top half of rushing.
Yeah, the Bucks were the only ones that weren't.
Yeah, and so we can try to put lipstick on a pig all you want. It amazes me the amount of people that, just think that you got to be able to throw no, you have to be able to run the ball to win. All right. Brock Purdy just started in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's a no brainer to me. Cause you know what you can do if you run the ball, you can dictate the pace of the game. If you can open up the run on your opponent, no matter the league, you then are in charge of the pace of the game, which I think is the most important element of football. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to mention, I feel like what better way to get your offensive line gelling? I mean, we'll talk about that in the next game. A struggling offensive line, you get them running the ball well, all of a sudden their confidence is up. All of a sudden things start falling in line and you start winning games back to back. It all starts with the run game. I don't care if it's 3-down football. You got to be able to run the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. I was talking to Jeff Tedford, who just announced, former CFL quarterback, just retired from Fresno State today. But I was asking him about what he picked up as he was the coach of the BC Lions in the past decade. Also played in the league for so long. And he was saying, the running the ball there, you had to get super creative. So that helped him coach college well, was, cause you only have 3 downs. So you have to get creative. So it matters, folks, even in a 3-down league. The stats on this one, and this is huge for Toronto's chances of potentially getting home field still. This was a gigantic fucking game. This might've been the biggest game of the season thus far. Just because Montreal finally looked vulnerable. I guess you could say they started to look vulnerable last week, but getting the win here and now they're split gives them a decent shot of being able to do this. And look, Ryan Dinwiddie playing safe ball with Cam Dukes, but Cam Dukes only had 4 incompletions. Just look, don't turn the ball over. Open up the run game. Use Dukes' specialty, which I think is probably his legs. Yeah. And I think that's a good blueprint moving forward in this league. I don't know. We'll see how Montreal responds. You think Fajardo will play this week?
I haven't heard. Are they on a bye?
Wait, they are on a bye, aren't they? No.
I can't
Hang
remember.
on. I had this loaded.
Yeah, they're on a bye. So comes at a good time since he did go down with that injury, gets another week of rest.
Yeah, and that does help. That does really help. So I mean, great performance. Let's move along to the next game. But before we get to the next game, I do want to tell you folks out there that the CFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8 is now live. Create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries. So you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entries. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. And the best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. And you can now use specials and boost on all flex entries. Don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. Yes, they do have CFL action. I'm playing it all the time. So sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Yes, Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. I was just at Circa. There we go. And of course, Circa contest have no rake. Yeah, Circa Millions. Pick 5 NFL teams ATS each week and compete for the $6 million prize, or survive the NFL gauntlet to claim the $10 million prize. Sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. Don't have a trip booked yet for Las Vegas before football season? May I recommend the Ultimate Contest Week? It's a great time to go out. You can hang out with our pals, Stacking the Money Green and Ryan Real Money Crammy, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd through August 24th. All right, we are back talking CFL action. Game 2 was another dandy here, and this one. This was probably the best game of the week. I don't know. I guess you could make a case for a couple. I had Calgary plus 4.5. I also did have the money line, which did not cash, but at least I cashed the 4.5 to cover your ass. Winnipeg, though, just when you think they're out, they pull you back in. How about this Blue Bomber team? I mean, has the beast woken up? I think that's the question that we got to ask ourselves here. My boy Chris Strevler did score on a touchdown, even though he didn't start. Zach Collaros did get the start. He threw for 344. And let me tell you, if he throws for 344 most weeks, I do believe this team is back. They had now they still got outgained in this game, which is fucking hilarious. So the defense still not back. But 3 turnovers, all the difference. Calgary loses this game, and it seems like Dave Dickinson's squad can't get out of their own way. In a way, Dedrick Mills, my DFS play, was fantastic with 131 yards. But let's talk about this Winnipeg team down the stretch, getting it done, making the plays they had to make. Just when we went to go write them off, I think our tickets still looking all right.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I actually, I doubled down today. They're 10-1 right now, and I couldn't pass it up because they did look better. And they started last week. They looked better last week, and they're running the ball really well. You know, Brady Oliveira had 109 rushing yards, 7.3 yard average. If you can average 7.3 yards a carry, you're going to do all right. And that's opening up the offense, and it's getting that offensive line gelling better. And they're being able to use the play action so that Collaros can throw for 344 yards and 2 touchdowns. Still, he needs to work on limiting the INTs. We've never seen him, or I should say in the past several years anyways, we've not seen him struggle with turnovers like he has this year. But I do think that they're starting to get their confidence. They're starting to get rolling. And the ticket's not dead, and I'm doubling down on it since it was 10-1. I mean, with that caliber of team, it's hard not to.
Yeah, and as long as Sergio Castillo's knocking in like those 60-yard field goals, I mean that helps, man. They won by 4. I feel like that's multiple times he's made like a 55-yard or 56-yard plus field goal. Like I said, I mean, and I was surprised that Collaros played. Yeah. But now that's 2 in a row.
And there's a guy that's starting to really stick out. I noticed him last week that they were targeting him more, but this week he really started sticking out. Ontario Wilson,
201 yards receiving,
16 targets. And Collaros said that he's liking what he's building on, and that Wilson is growing as a player, and they want to get him more involved, and targeting him 16 times is a great way to get him more involved. His DFS play, he scored 41 points. He was $3,100. So that would have been a great one to for us to throw in. Be interesting to see if that adjusts now.
You can't win.
If you didn't have him in your lineup,
you can't win.
Look, they head to Saskatchewan on Friday. 2 Friday games this week. A little double header on Friday. I don't know why, but that's a big game. And then obviously the one before Toronto's at Hamilton. Forgot to mention that. Little Battle of Ontario, but I'm buying stock too. I think it makes a lot of sense to jump in there on those Bombers. Just when you thought they were dead, they're showing signs of life. Defense got to get a little stronger though. I'd like to see the defense get just a little bit stronger. All right, third game here. Let's jump on over. So I started off 2-0 and I was like, fantastic. And then I'm sitting there with Saskatchewan plus 7.5. And I felt really good about it at the halftime spot. I was like, I'm feeling pretty damn good about me covering this. And I actually thought the money line was live. And then Vernon Adams happened. I would make the same bet again. I know BC was the better team, and I knew that coming in, but I just thought 7.5 was a little bit too much. Hell, going into the fourth quarter, if they don't score 13 points, it was what going into the fourth quarter, it was what 22-13. So I guess I wasn't covering there, but still Alouettes scored early on, and then it was 22-20 for a little bit there. And if you felt like you were going to get it, but Vernon Adams, man, 451 yards. You have to pay up for him in DFS every week. There's no other.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a really good defense, and he threw a couple picks, but 4 turnovers for the Roughriders. That's how you really don't cover the game. Your thoughts on this one?
Well, I saw on social media several people decided to go with your pick instead of mine. That's fine. That's fine. But you can't fade Vernon Adams, Justin McInnis, Alexander Hollins right now. They're simply, I feel like they're outlasting teams. They keep pace until that team wears out of energy, and they don't. I mean, their offense just keeps flying down the field. Justin McInnis, another guy that I had to pay up for him for my DFS lineup, but 243 yards and a touchdown.
And he was dinged up a little bit.
Yeah, he went out for a little bit, which I thought once they were up, it's like, why do you keep putting him back in? But it was okay since I had him in DFS. This kind of played out how I thought it was. How I thought it would. Shea Patterson kind of came back down to earth. I know he threw for 278 yards, but no touchdowns and interception, 17-25. I didn't think he was going to be able to sustain that momentum they had in his first start. We see it a lot in professional football. The backup comes in, his first start does really well, and then the second game it's like a completely different guy, and that's what I felt like it was. And BC they're going to be tough to beat. And
Sean White kicking a field goal 30 with 1 second left, 35-yard field goal. Can we talk about that one?
Yeah, let's, because in the third quarter I bet under 52.5 points. It's at 52 points, and BC gets the ball back, and I think, I got this in the bag. This is a sure thing. And then he calls the timeout with a second left and kicks the field. What the fuck? Why?
That's a James Franklin move. That's a dickhead move. Why? Because maybe a good amount of people in the city of Vancouver had the over on that in that game, and he's doing them a solid. Unbelievable, though. I'm with you. That's sickening. Anytime you bet and you get that, it's sickening. I think you can argue BC is the best team in the league right now.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It'll be interesting to see how Montreal bounces back, but to me, it's one of those two.
I mean, we do the UFL Gambling Podcast. We've done the XFL, the USFL. Vernon Adams is NFL good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a dog, and he's fun to watch. He should
be. Yeah. It's amazing to me that you could sit there and, like, if you're The Rock that owns this UFL, The Rock played for the BC Lions. If you see this guy, you're sitting there like, how do we not get him in the league? Now, I'm happy with him in the CFL. I'm just saying, if you want your league to be more marketable, the guy is fucking tearing it up. I mean, he's really on another level. Fajardo was balling out this year too, but Vernon Adams just is like, he looks like he's NFL ready right now. Like he looks like a solid NFL quarterback right now to me. Shout out to the BC Lions. This could be their year, man. Remember the Grey Cup in British Columbia this year? Could it be that year? Look, before I get to the final game, I do want to tell you that the CFL Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter, data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythms combines predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. And Rhythms predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions, folks. So claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. That's rhythm. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. All right, back talking. Kudos to you here, because we did just get breaking news right as we went to go live that Chris Jones, you're fired. All right. Jarious Jackson, the interim head coach, now named of the Edmonton Eskimos. I know Jarious Jackson because he played quarterback at Notre Dame back in the day. He also played for the Barcelona Dragons in NFL Europe. And I do believe he got one start with the Denver Broncos once. And he played for the BC Lions for a long time. But okay, because this is kind of big news here. I guess I'm not that surprised because the Eskimos have been ass. But I did think when they hired Jones, I thought he was the guy to bring them to some winning ways. And your thoughts on him being fired, and then we'll talk about this game.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's been frustrating as Elks fans to watch their loss after loss, but they've been in these games. They're close to turning it around, and it feels much closer than it has been for several years now. So is this a little premature? I think so. I mean, it's not his fault the kicker kicked the damn ball out of bounds. This was a team that was up, they got behind, and he got them to rally back to tie the game. I don't know. It seems just a little premature to me, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out because, again, in football, we see these coaches get fired. The next game, the team rallies and wins. They play Ottawa again at Ottawa. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of take this personal and shove it down their throats and win. They are 2.5-point favorites right now.
Let me tell you this though, man. As much as I want to defend him, Dru Brown threw for 480 yards against your defense. I think Dru Brown's solid, but he's not that solid.
True.
They had 536 yards against your defense. I have no problems with them firing him because of that. You can't do. Ottawa's not a good team. We've watched them a few weeks. Yeah. I would not define them as a good team in this league yet. And you give up 536 yards. Sorry. I think you got to go. I think you got to go. Shout out to Dru Brown for throwing for 480. I'm not trying to shit on you, Drew. I think that was a great performance. And Dustin got in to score a touchdown. And our boy Dakota Prokop. See, that's what they should be doing, man. Is getting creative on offense. Because if you had to assess McLeod Bethel Thompson right now with the Eskimos, how would you assess? If you were the head coach, J Mark, would you play the backup quarterback situation? Would Dakota Prokop come in? Would some of the other, I feel like I'd get a little more creative on offense.
100%. I mean, McLeod has looked decent. He's looked like the veteran who can make the throws and pretty much mistake free. He's made some mistakes, but he keeps it pretty safe. But you got to change something, and I think that starts at the quarterback. So yeah, I think they need to mix the other guys in or give one of them a start. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You haven't won a game. You're one of the worst franchises of the last 3 or 4 years in this league. What's it going to hurt to say, hey, McLeod, we appreciate what you've done. We appreciate you coming in here. This isn't necessarily because you've been bad, but we got to give these younger guys a chance.
Yeah. And now Jarious Jackson takes over as interim head coach. This is a guy that won a shit ton of Grey Cups in the CFL. I mean, is this when we should buy in Edmonton or am I just way off here?
I'm buying into him for a game. I don't know if I'm buying into him for the season, but I think you at least get a game or two bump.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think it makes a lot of sense. Where are you at with Ottawa? I think this team has a shot at making the playoffs. I think they're going to be in the mix there. I mean, you look at Montreal now with the loss.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they can do it. That's a tough division, but they're inconsistent. It seems like one week their defense is very good and their offense sucks. The next week they let Edmonton score 34 points, but the offense puts up 480 passing yards. Just that inconsistency is going to bite them in the ass. I want to see a performance where they have good defense and good offense in the same game. Then we could talk about, hey, they got a chance.
Yeah. Yeah. And that does it. Like I said, we didn't have graphics, but and that's a surprising thing about that Ottawa game is they did turn the ball over more. They also only rushed for 56 yards. I mean, they severely outgained Edmonton. It's amazing that it was that close.
Yeah, agreed.
So, Khalil Pimpleton, by the way, dog. Yeah, 153 receiving yards. Yeah. Anyway, shout out to the Redblacks getting it done. Shout out to Rod Villagomez. I know he's a Red Black fan. Power rankings, just like that. Let me ask you this: what was the most surprising game to you?
Most surprising game. I mean, I want to say Toronto, right? But I think a lot of that was Fajardo going down. But it was surprising. I mean, they kept their foot on the gas. The defense did a lot better than they have been, even though it was against Caleb Evans. So yeah, I'll go with Toronto.
I agree. I think most people checking the scores like me. I was working in Vegas that day. This was the week I saw the least amount of action. So if I'm skipping over a little bit, I can't talk Thursdays and Fridays games. I really didn't get a chance to watch. I did get Saturday and Sundays in, but yeah, I feel like if you're just checking the clips, checking the scores, using the app, you see that Toronto Montreal game, you're saying, the fuck is that? But impressive. Let's get to the power rankings before we get out of here. Power rankings. I feel like my power ranking, well, with the exception of Montreal, I feel like, we did argue 2 and 3 last week.
Mm-hmm.
They played.
Trying to remember what we had.
I had BC 2. You had Saskatchewan 2.
You're right. Yep.
Now you could say, this is where you could say, hey, they didn't have their starting quarterback. At number 9, it's the Hamilton Tiger Cats. I don't want to hear this Edmonton Eskimo shit. Hamilton's still the worst team. I woke up the middle of the night in Vegas and I just said, fuck Hamilton, right? In the middle of my sleep. But I still have them ranked number 9. You?
Yeah, same. They haven't changed. They had the week off. We'll see how they do against Toronto, but Toronto is starting to put things together better, especially on defense. So it's not looking good for Hamilton.
At number 8, I think this is where it's where the rubber meets the road, right? Some shit like that. Give me the Eskimos. They just can't win games, and you can't give up. They made Dru Brown look like fucking Johnny Unitas. Yeah, Eskimos number 8. Who do you got at 8?
Yeah, I don't think you can put anybody else there. We'll see what the coaching change does for them, but for right now, I mean, they're one of the 2 bottom teams.
Yeah. At number 7, this is where it gets a little tricky. I personally feel like it's the Ottawa Redblacks, but Calgary's starting to have a little bit of Edmonton to them. But give me the Ottawa Redblacks at number 7. Who's your number 7 team?
Yeah, so far we're all the same. I agree with you though. It is close. Those 2 are probably a little interchangeable. I want Ottawa to put together a good game on both sides of the ball, and we really haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, number 6, I kind of already alluded to it. The Calgary Stampeders are my team there. This team could be a lot better, like record wise. Little plays here and there, and it might be number 3. But at number 6, I have to put the Calgary Stampeders. How about yourself?
Yeah, same. Jake Mayer he started off pretty strong. He's kind of fizzled out now. But I still think he has the capability of getting strong again. I mean, this is the only guy that started every game last season for his team. So he's still building those reps. And I think he could get back into looking how he did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, let's go. And then at number 5, don't count them out. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers climbing up the ranks here. It's a long season. It's a marathon. Chris Stravler reminding us. Zach Collaros reminding us. Watch, they're going to end up in the Grey Cup. Where are you going number 5?
You know what? I'm going to make a change on the fly because I don't want us to have the exact same power rankings, and I feel like that's where this is headed. So give me Saskatchewan. I don't believe in Shea Patterson. I think he had his one good game. Yeah, their defense is still good, but you can't slow teams like BC. And I would take Winnipeg over them right now, and we're going to see that this coming week. So we'll see if I put the wrong team ahead of the other again. But yeah, give me Saskatchewan.
Well, they're my number 4, and like I said, I don't know. I kind of agree with you. I don't know if it's sustainable. Whereas, Winnipeg, they've got guys that have done it before. So
yeah,
I'll put Saskatchewan for right now's sake. But yeah, who do you have at 4 then? You have Winnipeg at 4.
Yep. So I'll put Winnipeg there, and I think they get a win in Saskatchewan this weekend.
Listen to our pick show for week 7 coming up. I mean, it's pretty obvious. The remaining 3. At 3, I have the Toronto Argonauts. Ryan Dinwiddie continues to prove to be one of the better coaches in the league. Great performance, in my opinion. I know Fajardo went down, but that's not his fault. So give me the Argos at number 3. Where are you going at number 3?
Think about how good they'd be without a dink and dunker at quarterback. I agree. I got Toronto as well. I just got to take my shots at Dukes,
Oh yeah. I enjoy the fact that this guy
he's
still your prom date, right? I know there's got to be a backstory. There's got to be a backstory. You stole your prom date or something, right? Well, at number 2, I have the BC Lions. They're pretty damn close to being number 1.
Yeah.
With the way Montreal's looked the past 2 weeks, one of those weeks was with Fajardo. They figured it out. They got it done, but I will still say Montreal, they won the Grey Cup last year and they look pretty phenomenal for most of this season. They deserve number 1, but BC is knocking on that door. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I have BC right here. And it's going to be tough to gauge next week because Montreal is off and BC plays Calgary, who we both think is a little towards the bottom end of the league. But yeah, I mean, you can make the argument. I spoke with our buddy Coach K earlier today, and he's got BC as his number 1 team. He's believing in them and doesn't think that anybody's going to slow him down.
Woo. Well, I mean, they're a dome team. All right. But they do look good right now. Fascinating to see. How about this before we get out of here? So we have pretty much almost the same power rankings.
Yeah.
We got Friday is the Edmonton Eskimos at the Ottawa Redblacks. Double header with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at the Roughriders. Saturday, we got the Argos heading to Hamilton. Sunday, we get BC Calgary. Rank those in the order that you want to see these games, as far as not for fantasy sake or anything, as the games that you think are the best games.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the Winnipeg, Saskatchewan. I want to see if Winnipeg really has turned the corner. I think that's going to be a good matchup for them. And then Edmonton and Ottawa. I know it's kind of maybe a boring game to some people, but I want to see, does the coaching change make a difference? Can they bounce back? And then we'll go with Toronto and Hamilton. That's going to be interesting. And then I put BC Calgary last. I want to see the game. I kind of think BC might crush them.
Well, we saw them play a couple of weeks ago. BC won by, I think, was 8 or 9, if memory serves me correct. I think that game's intriguing because if you watch that game, I thought Calgary did a great job defensively. That was in that filthy dome. Now they got to go to McMahon Stadium. I think it's one of the more intriguing matchups. If I had to power rank these, I would say yes, the Winnipeg Saskatchewan game comes up because all of a sudden, if the Blue Bombers win this, all bets are off. They're back. But to me, second is BC Calgary. I want to see if BC can sustain this, especially on the road. That's where that's where Toronto caught them.
Yeah.
Can Calgary, who's desperate for a win. And then 3, I would say, I want to see the Eskimos with Jarious Jackson, the former Notre Dame quarterback. And then 4, Toronto, Hamilton. You know, I hate Hamilton. I don't even want to ruin my Saturday there with that. But fascinated by watching all of the action. We will be back tomorrow or Wednesday morning with the pick show. Whenever our slides, we need slides for that. You know what I mean? Especially the way we're hitting this huge tits parlays. Give J Mark a follow on Twitter at JMark Football. Check out his old fashioned football podcast. What's that?
I got one thing to point out. So I noticed this week that FanDuel, when I went to look at the picks, they had next week's picks on there. They don't yet, but Tuesday or Wednesday, they'll have next week's games on there. And I put a little parlay together because I was like, I'm going to jump ahead of the curve. And so it's a money line parlay, but just to point out, I got Ottawa at -115. They're at -140 net right now. I got Winnipeg at +120. They're -137. I got Toronto and BC both at -205, and they're both -215. So decent way to maybe get some cleave if you think you got the lean on these games 2 weeks ahead of time. And with the huge tits parlay, we like some cleave.
Oh yeah. I mean,
It's easy to see a tide turn.
folks, that's sharp, razor sharp is J-Mark. Give him a follow on Twitter at JMark Football. Like I said, check out the Old Fashioned Football Podcast. Check out the UFL Gambling Podcast. I'm on Twitter at DColbyD. Check out the College Football Experience. I'm breaking down all 134 teams. Just sat down with 10 of the 12 Mountain West coaches. Got interviews coming out all week on that. The Big Ten preview. We just did did Wisconsin this morning. UCLA, Washington on deck to end the Big Ten, the new Big Ten, as we jump over to the Big 12 and the ACC. So check out the College Football Experience. Breaking down all 134 college football teams. The solo podcast reached every team in the land. Also check out the Stadium Heads podcast for a history of football stadiums. You'll like it if you like football. Like if you really like football,
I
what I mean?
it, personally, I think it's great.
Thank you, buddy. And check that out. And besides that, check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. Check out the College Basketball Experience, NBA Gambling Podcast, our whole feed, NASCAR Gambling Podcast. We mentioned Rod Villegas. Damn it, gentlemen, start your engines, ladies and gentlemen, and check out the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. The Bottom Line Bombs, the whole arsenal is just fantastic. Until next time, folks, this is the CFL Gambling Podcast Week 6 reaction show. Shout out to Channing Brown. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here. Run, shoot.